All right, we'll call the meeting to order. The Soundview Operations Advisory Committee, subcommittee of the Soundview Commission. October 12th, it is 9:07 a.m. First order of business on the agenda is public comment. Mr. Cordo.
Can you come forward so they can hear you?
Yes.
Thank you.
Lenny Cordo, 33 Hawksnest Road. Since no meetings or agendas or minutes or anything has been posted notifying the committee of these actions, I would like to request that additional public comment be allowed at the end of the meeting.
Got it.
We're looking for a response and an answer as well.
It's time for public comment, so.
Well, at our last meeting, you discussed how it was like a, family environment. You want to include everyone with the discussion. So we're just looking to ask to amend that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Yes. I have the same. Carolyn Miranda. I have the same concern. When you put public comment first, then it will have, we can't reflect on whatever goes on the meeting. So if you're going to do it in the beginning, I think you better do it towards the end. Also, if you really want public input and public comment, then you should do it at the end after you've had your discussions and we've been able to listen to them, and then we can make a public comment about the meeting and its contents. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comment?
Sure. This is Tom Larson, 72 Corsino Avenue, Oldline. I would just like to make a public comment that I would like to be advised on the ranger activity driving on the beach and what's going to happen in the off season now that we're in the off season and we're in the planning phase. I would like the public to be involved in potentially some solutions to the dangers of the ranger vehicle. So that's all.
Thank you. Anything else? All right, thank you. I'd just like to make a quick response regarding public comment before the meeting or after the meeting. We've had this discussion a couple of times in different meetings, and I'll defer to this committee here. Some meetings say that would like the public comment at the beginning of the meeting so that the comments can be discussed during the meeting. Other people would like the comments at the end of the meeting so that the comments can be discussed of what was discussed at the meeting. It doesn't make any difference to me which way we want to do this. If this committee wants to put the comment at the end of the meeting, that's fine. If we want to keep the comment at the front of the meeting so we have an opportunity to discuss those comments during the meeting, that's fine too. So I'll defer to this committee as to where we'd like to put the comment, and we can talk about that, further on into the agenda. All right, approval of the minutes of August 15th. I have the minutes here that Doug provided, and there was a couple of the spelling issues that were identified by Mark. I was not at the meeting, so do we have a motion to
make a motion to accept the minutes?
Okay.
I would say I would second that based on the way they are right now. I think they can be figured out.
All right.
Do you have the copies of where I didn't take the notes for that meeting?
Okay.
No, it was between Doug and Mark that kind of put those comments up.
So if you just show me where the spelling is, or make note of it in the minutes.
I could.
Just circle them.
I could email these out to you later on if you like.
That'd be great.
Okay.
I can make a copy on the way out.
Okay. Thank you. Should we table that, or should we?
Let's table that till we get it to next month.
We'll table that until next month, if that's all right. All in favor of tabling that?
Aye.
All right. So we do not have the financial figures yet for the revenue costs or actually expenses put together yet for the summer of 2022. And I've been talking with Matt occasionally about this, and we're going to find out exactly where we are with that. But I did not get any revenue for figures. Did Tim or
No,
Martha?
I haven't.
Well, did they say why we're not getting financial figures?
No, I've got to talk to Pam, I think it is. And Pam supposedly is talking to the kiosk people. And this is all computerized, so
I know that.
it should not be that difficult thing to get.
Well, also, the funds come into the finance office.
Well, gross revenue is not an issue. It's actually the breakdown of that gross revenue which we're trying to devise. So that's
Data.
yeah, the data is really that's the important part. And we can't make decisions unless we have accurate data.
The only thing I can tell you is I talked to the kiosk people twice before when we were worried about the software. They were very helpful and responsive within 24 hours. So I don't understand if they can't do it or if they're not understanding what it is exactly we want.
Oh, let's see, tomorrow I'm meeting with Ethan, one of the
Yeah.
ranger supervisors, about some parking ticket appeals, so I can ask him. Now, I guess the kiosk will simply give you the raw data and what people put in.
Right.
It doesn't distinguish between street parking and lot parking and so forth. But
Actually, it should.
It should.
It should because parking is by space
Right.
number.
Well, I guess that's a question. If you wanted to say the revenue from spaces X to Y,
Yeah.
and then,
Well, that's why you need the data dump, so
Yeah.
that then you can go through and look at your fields and say, well, I want it by space number, how many turnovers.
yeah, and Pamelia, the clerk at the police department, might also play a role in that because she interfaces
Right.
with that same thing.
Right.
Yeah, it's just a total data dump, and as long as we can get it in formatted in an Excel spreadsheet, we can really, take a good look at
But
it.
if one could ask the kiosk company for revenue from this block of spaces and that block of spaces, we need probably the information. What do we want first?
Are you looking for specific dates, the Saturday of Memorial Day?
No, actually,
Forward?
and I actually identified this in one of my emails to Matt, and I could put it out again. Maybe if the kiosk people are not understanding it, then that's fine. I'd be more than happy to talk to them. But as we discussed in the past, it'd be really critical to get a list of what time of day the charges were made, which spaces they were on, day of the week, and so on and so forth. So in other words, all the information that would be plugged into that kiosk should be able to be retrieved. Once we get all that information, then we can devise the fields and figure out where we go from there. And then we can look at them different ways, and that's the whole key here. That's the whole key. And what happens on a Saturday between 10 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon versus on a Sunday between 2 in the afternoon and 5 at night. In other words, it's a good exercise to really figure out where our revenue comes from and what the hot spots are and what the really critical times are. I think it was not only important for us to do that way, but also important for our police department, our public works, and everybody else to know what the times of big issues are. So yeah, Mark.
Does it make sense to have someone from that kiosk company physically come here so we can explain and see what kind of reports we can get from the company? Getting a raw dump in an Excel spreadsheet is good, obviously, because people that are familiar with Excel, you can slice and dice it. But maybe if the kiosk company is not understanding what we're looking for, I would say bring them in here so we can show them what we need.
On the phone.
Yeah.
How about if I call Pamelia and see what has transpired, and then if she's willing, she and I can set up a conference call with the company or ask them if they want to just if they want to be invited to a meeting, and then they can provide us, we can provide them with more information of what we're looking for, et cetera. And if so, just tell me whenever the next meeting is, we can invite them to.
That'd be great.
Via the phone, because
Yeah.
they don't need to show up. in person.
Because our contract,
When I spoke with the kiosk people way back at the beginning, when I actually talked to the the guy that was doing the programming out in the field, and I explained to him what we were looking for, and he said all of that information is captured and is available. I went through the whole thing with the guy in the field.
Right.
So he said all that information exists, it's captured, and it should be available.
But
if you can program it, you've got to be able to get it out.
Yeah.
having come from that kind of a field, we usually would mock up the kinds of reports we're looking for, and then you give it to them and say, here's how we want to see this broken down. So even if you
Great idea.
straw man on paper.
Why don't we do that? I'll put together something with my thoughts, and I'll send it out.
Yeah.
We'll
Well,
kind of-
let's find out what they're willing to do for us first, and then you can set up your field.
So we can do both ways. Let's we can do it both
Mock it
ways.
up at
Yeah.
the same time and then find out what
We want to make sure, though, that we're not expending extra cash to
Right.
get them to do all this. What's
Right.
part of our contract?
But
They
the Auburn
Part of that
volunteers should be
to
there.
gain some kind of data mining.
All right. Let's do that. We'll do that. We'll come up with some thoughts, Mark, put it
Yeah.
down, and okay, great. Just the rest of the summer activities, I've heard, pros and cons. The only, most people that I've spoken with have said that the past summer was actually very pleasant. The only big issue that's come up, not only at the Zombie Commission meetings, but at a few other events, is the ATV on the beach, and it's come up numerous occasions by numerous people. So I think that's one of the things that we need to.
Have we submitted that to public safety?
Not yet. Other than a conversation.
We shouldn't have anything to do with that.
Correct.
We should push that over to chief of police or public safety, and they need to address that.
The issue is, and I said it before, that there's some concern with the ATV being on a crowded beach, and it may not be, the wisest decision for that to be running up and down a crowded beach, with little kids going on it. And that's fine. And I did talk to Officer Collins, or Corporal Collins, on that, and he agreed that, probably there should be some different protocols or some rules or guidelines. And I did speak to him at the end of the summer when these issues were brought up on numerous occasions. And once again, we discussed that it would be one of those things that we would put it in writing, and they would, police department, public safety would kind of work out the plan and come back to us with, what the plan is.
Well, there's got to be protocols as well, because I've done a lot of searching, and it's not just Soundview that has an ATV. Most public beaches up and down the East Coast, any beaches, California, anywhere you want to go, they all have these vehicles, and they all operate in crowded areas. So
there is a difference on the size of the beach.
Well, there is a difference on the size, but you're still looking at a distance of a beach with a lot of people, and they operate. So I think there's an opportunity also to benchmark to see what some of these other beaches have and do. But it's hard to get that information if you're not public safety.
In Florida, you see these lanes,
Right.
which the public can drive on. They're hard sand.
Right.
But there might be some ATV lane, which wouldn't be a fenced-in thing.
Correct.
But it would be, you wouldn't be able to put a blanket in there.
Right.
If having the ATV on the beach is important for safety and so.
Right, but then you have to wonder about this, the cross-traffic in that
Yeah.
lane, and that's fine.
I think if people approach, if there were cones or something, then you
Yeah,
get into
right.
the whole spectrum, the cones get pushed around.
I think you'll find, Paul, that Ocean Beach in New London has an ATV. It is used for emergency purposes only, in rescues, or if there's a situation where somebody needs to be removed from the beach in a situation. It is not something that travels back and forth just to peruse the beach to see what's going on. The lifeguards pay attention, and the security people monitor from afoot. They do not use their ATV as a toy to ride on down at the water's edge unless it is absolutely necessary.
Right, correct, and I agree with
And
you,
that is a
but Ocean
must.
Beach is not the only area to look at. There are
No,
other
I
beaches
understand that, but it is a
that
must
do
read.
this.
bigger
That do this.
throughout the beach, and they are very concerned about the safety of the people that are at the water's
And I
edge.
think we all are too. So what's the best way to do this? And if it means cutting back the operation, okay. If it means putting in a lane somewhere up, above, middle, I mean, I don't know what the answer is. All I'm saying is there's an opportunity here to do something, and there are tons of them used across a ton of areas that we can look at for ideas of benchmarking. It's not us. That's got to go this way.
Yeah, and I tend to agree. I mean, there's opportunity to fix a concern here, and I think that we need to see what other people do. I mean,
Right.
there may be a package already out there with some guidelines. And to your point, Martha, you know, it is public safety, and we just need to make sure that everybody's safe on that. So, but Sound View Commission is going to put together our critique of the summer, and that is probably the biggest thing that's come across our table in the past year. They did talk with Carl Collins on that subject, and I'm sure he's talked to Matt about that too.
You know, I was trying to explain this when you have to be gentle with that door, and you're forcing it.
We need to be disciplined.
I know, but I'm mad. You can't force it. Well, because you're forcing it.
Okay, we don't,
With one finger, you can do that handle.
How do you move?
how do you,
There's a start.
Whoever's on the phone, please mute your phone so we cannot hear you talking to your families.
I don't know where
you
to
just, Tim knows how to mute. What do we do?
Like star 50.
Star 5-2.
makes it easier.
Yeah.
Mark, your take on it?
No, I was saying someone was trying, I don't know if someone was trying to call.
Well, something about a door. Don't touch the door, you're gonna break
Touch
it.
it or whatever, so.
The door's fixed.
Mark, your take on it from Miami Beach?
Well, no, I agree. We have to have some guidelines. I like what Paul is saying. We have to do some research. Okay, it's not a one-size-fits-all. Public safety is important. There is an expanse that is covered by the rangers, and the ATV does assist in doing that. But I also understand the safety issue here, because I don't have the answer, but I think we need to do the research. That's the bottom line.
And I think we heard from the people who brought the lawsuit against Miami that to impose a capacity of people on the beach would be challenged. You could during COVID, but now that COVID is over, it seems that there's no limit to people on the beach, which seems crazy because this room has 100 people.
Right.
And so on and so forth. So if the beach is extraordinarily crowded, then it's more difficult to get around, and that there's more likely that something's going to happen as well. So it's a conundrum.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's not up for us to answer this question, but I think we certainly can identify some of the concerns we have and see how solutions can be devised. So,
Probably surveying other beaches would be a very smart thing to do, and get some intel there, and then have the police report to the committee and say, this is our issue and here's what we think, because at some point there's going to have to be some decisions made that won't please everyone.
Tim, is that something that you can talk with?
I think I can talk to Matt. I think that the police have made it clear they think, or at least he thinks, that ATV is a very important thing. Now, how you have his point of view and then you have the public's point of view, so we have to hear it all.
I think, without a doubt. I mean, I think it's important, and I think it's a very helpful, useful tool. But it is a tool, so we just need to figure out.
And we have to bear in mind that the ATV use on the private beaches is really their domain.
Right.
So I think there's a way to meld both.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe the answer is it's used as an emergency tool, and you just add more security posts, more chairs, and put the rangers up on the chairs down the beach.
Yeah.
And then if you got something that breaks out that needs immediate help, well.
Yeah. I know for Miami Beach, this thing with the ATV is not new. In fact, I can remember discussing this at our board meetings 8, 10 years ago, or whatever, when it first came on the scene. And we had talked about putting up a lane for the ATV on the back of our, you think I asked for whatever, because you're taking our beach away. We can't sit there now. We can't, it's like, oh my God.
I think Tim is right. There's going to be decisions made.
There's going to be decisions made.
Somebody's going to not be happy on the subject.
Right, and safety, and people are worried about a piece of sand to sit on, you know?
Well, let's see what other people do. I think, that's kind of an important thing. I mean, that so far has been the biggest issue that we've, that's come across our table in terms of public safety is concerned. And Mark, have you had anything else?
No, that's it. I think we just need to do that research.
That's really.
Come back with options.
Other than that, the beach was pretty calm this year for the most part. How did the security chair work out?
Well, I don't know, because there was no chair on the beach. The chair was there.
I think Wayne said it worked well.
Worked very well.
And so did Matt Work.
I did see the Rangers up on there.
Yeah, worked good. Okay, super.
I guess the middle of July, things start slowing down.
Yeah.
It usually slows down, end of July, and then August kind of tapers off. And then we've that massive heat wave just really decimated everything. Yeah. It was terrible.
Yeah, I've got a lot of data on that. I've done some field trips. So I've got a lot of data on parking and about beach attendance. Niantic, Westerly, Watch Hill, Mesquamicut. Talked to some folks there running parking areas. I know there was an intimation at one of the meetings that Watch Hill or Mesquamicut or something offers 2 hours free parking, and then after that I couldn't find anything like that. I talked to an old timer. He laughed when I said that. But I did come across a sign from the town of, I think it was Westerly. I've got to go through the data. It was 30-minute free parking, and then $7 per half hour after that.
What's 30 minutes do for anyone?
Well, I don't know, but whether they were trying to...
Enough time to get out of the car,
businesses there, I saw $50, $60, $70. Niantic, $50. So I don't think we're off the mark that much. I'm thinking of some creative ways with the parking. I'm not ready to discuss them, but I know that our rate is not that far off the mark. We're not up here and everybody else is down here. We may have to make some adjustments. We can talk about that. But Rhode Island, in fact, one of the old timers I talked to, he said, I know exactly where you're from. He says, you're a mini us, because they have the businesses, they have the bars, they suffer with the same problem. He runs a parking lot. I says, what happened with the heat this year? He laughed. He says, nobody came. He says, we were flat. Everybody was flat. Nobody was here. He says, who's going to go and park their Keister on a beach and burn?
At 135 degrees.
That's exactly what he said. So, and they do have, I did see portable trailers for the...
porta potty.
Yeah, they're not luxury toilets.
But they're nicer.
But they're nicer in that they had, I think, it was the 27 or 28-foot trailer split in half. Tom Larson and I are working on that for the commission. But there are 5 stalls, I think, in the ladies' room. There's 3 and 2 in the men's room. I didn't see how they were quite plumbed because there was a pipe coming out the end. So they do have them. They're around. Some of them aren't in a pretty location, but they're there.
Just to bring you up to speed on that, one of the things that we're researching and hopefully be able to put it in the budget, where it goes from that point on, is a much nicer, trailer unit versus the porta potties. And we're looking at a couple of different options. There are some trailer units that have just individual stalls, which you approach from the outside. Others have a large room for the men and a large room for the women. So that's part of one of the things we're doing, and hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we'll have some solid numbers on that, which would include the trailer and also obviously the maintenance of the trailer. That's the important part, because it was looked at the cost of the trailer is rather expensive over the course of the summer months. And we could probably buy our own trailer for that. The issue then becomes maintenance and who's going to clean it, and then at the end of the year you got to take it apart and winterize it and so on and so forth. As part of that, also there's some infrastructure that has to occur.
Yeah, we looked at composting toilets, but then you had to get the stuff up high and have the thing below.
The composting toilet situation is really, it's probably a non-starter. And I did research that. The composting toilets itself, for probably what we need down there, just the units themselves, it's about $120,000. That doesn't include the building. The building, you need a 7-foot basement, okay? And because we're at high groundwater, we'd have to actually build the building up.
And handicap has to go.
Handicap would have to. We'd probably take more than half of that lot just to grade up to a building.
Yeah.
The building alone would be about $190,000, $200,000. So the building and the composting toilets would be well over $350,000. So that's really a non-starter. But the trailer issue, we're probably talking somewhere in the 30 to, I don't know, just off the top of my head, some in the $35,000 a year, which would include all the maintenance and everything. That would include the maintenance. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's obviously, but we're paying now $12,000. We went from $6,000 for the porta potties to $12,000 for the porta potties. And granted, they were a little nicer this year, but it's still porta potties. So,
the problem, it is a problem. The problem with the trailer toilets is one of the quotes was only one cleaning a week. That's not going to do it.
No, you got to do daily.
And the second quote was twice a week, but even that is, I'm not sure. And that adds $400 and some odd per cleaning.
But this is going into a large tank, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's self-contained.
It's self-contained.
They're self-contained, so they come and pump it out and clean the units. So, I mean...
No, if it's a different design than the regular porta potty and it's got a larger tank, I'm not saying that's right, but maybe only twice a week is okay for a design like that. I don't know.
4th of July, I don't think it would be.
No.
Depending weather-wise, So that adds another layer of cost.
Right.
The trailers, I think you can buy a trailer, amortized, I think, Tom said he was going to get the cost, but he thought they cost around $60,000. Well, the quotes are carrying a $4,800 a month rental cost. So that's 3 months of that alone is $15,000.
They have to be air conditioned.
I believe they are, but I'm not sure. I didn't get into the power issue or water. I believe they need water. I don't know if they're self-contained on the water. No. That would go off in a second.
No, they have to. They need water.
They need water.
They need water.
And they need power. And they're going to be lit inside. There's no windows.
The power I looked at was 220 amp.
Well, there's power right on pond.
So we could power water. We would have to bring a water line in, and there's water in pond, and there's water on.
Yeah, you may not be able to put them down where they are now because of the flooding.
Yeah.
They may have to go up to the other side of the lot.
Yeah. But that's really the trailer. So. Yeah.
Why would that be a problem in case of a flood?
Flooding. Yeah. You know what happens in a heavy rain? You get.
Yeah.
Well, right now the porta potties just float. Pick them up wherever they land. It'd be tough for a trailer to be floating. Yeah, so
hopefully
we're going to have some data on some information on that, because that's one of the really key things that we're looking at this coming year as an initiative. The other thing that was brought up at the commission meeting was that the end of Hartford Avenue is probably not the most attractive thing. We've got a bunch of trash cans down there and this gigantic sign, and it kind of obliterates the view of the beach. So I talked to Harry about this. One of the thoughts was that the trash cans are going to move to the side of the street, left and the right side, in the little containers, And then we'd like to take obviously we went to the sign down, we bought new signs. I got to talk to you, Tim, about that because I talked to Ed, or left a number of messages for Ed. We had the signs since beginning of August, and I haven't been able to connect up with them to put them up. So, we paid for the signs, and they're somewhere in this town, and I don't know where they are. So we need to find that out. But we'd like to take the rocks that are there and kind of separate them out and make the entrance to the beach in the center of the road, okay? So that when you're looking down Hartford Avenue, you're seeing the beach and not seeing a bunch of rocks and signs.
And garbage cans.
And garbage cans. So we just thought it would be a much nicer view from the road. So that's going to be in our plan of attack. So, but I definitely need to sit down with Matt to make sure that's acceptable with him.
Fire marshal
and Ed. Well, fire marshal.
No, he needs.
We should be part of the conversation. But I did talk to Harry because Harry's the guy that's on the beach every morning.
Right.
And I did ask Harry. He says, as long as you give me 10 feet of space, he says, I'll get through it.
Right.
So Harry's fine with it, and he's the guy that's in there every day. And by moving the trash cans to the left and right, I think that would be a much nicer view. So, beach. So that was one of the things we did discuss at the meeting. So,
But no,
go ahead.
agree with something like that, but how about Kokomo's? You're saying you're gonna put those on the left in front of Kokomo's?
No. So you got the street there, the Hartford Avenue, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to glue four cans together in a little square, and then build a little containment around them. So it's a little corral for the trash cans. So you're seeing a nice little, a nice.
You're gonna line them up.
Yeah. No. You're gonna there'd be a real corral.
No.
Little corral.
No,
there's be a little corral so that it's. We actually have a design. Actually have a quote. Which you can't seem to get the contractor to build it. So the money's in the budget. We have the design. Everything's been approved, but I can't seem to get the contractor to build it. So if anybody knows a contractor that'd like to build it, I'd be happy to share the design and see if we can get somebody to build it. So
Eric's too busy.
Eric's been busy. He's been flat out.
Have we tried him again or no?
I tried him again twice this summer.
Okay.
So those are the things that we discussed. Anything else here, Mark, from your standpoint that we should be talking about?
No, not really. I mean, we've got some other things that we're trying to deal with, internally, with enforcing our own ordinances and doing those kinds of things. We haven't had a time to sit back and talk about the beach in general.
A little breathing room.
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything from Doug. Has anybody heard anything?
Wayland?
No, I haven't heard anything either.
All right, so I guess unless anybody else has anything else to discuss, the only other thing I'd like to ask is, do we want to move public comment to the end of the next meeting, or at the beginning of the meeting? Like I said, I can take it either way. It doesn't make a difference to me.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
I'm fine with them at the end. I mean, you've gone your own town meetings and my own town meetings back in Southington. Public comment usually is at the end, and people get up and speak. I'm fine with it at the end. I don't see any issue.
I'm okay with public comment at the end, but it's not a public hearing. So the comment will not be allowed during a discussion of an issue. Okay? We will conduct our business. We will take our votes or whatever. But yeah, I'm okay, provided that they're at the end of a meeting outside, not operating in a public hearing forum.
Right.
So I'm okay with that.
What do you? How's the selectmen do?
We used to have public comment at the end, and then because of some sensitive issues, people didn't want to hang around for the whole meeting to be able to speak, so we moved it to the front.
Yep.
And that's where it is now.
And I think that although those people who wish to make public comment think sometimes at the end, but meanwhile votes are taken in the meeting, And if you look at the agenda and you see the items that are coming up on the agenda and you want to speak to one of those agenda items,
Correct.
the only way to influence the people who are voting is to speak before the vote.
Right.
Whereas if you wait till the end, the vote's been taken, and now we didn't learn your viewpoint.
That was
So-
a prior agenda and posted before.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, I don't know if the agenda got to the minutes, but I know that the agenda came out. But it's supposed to be, there are rules for when the agendas are supposed to be posted.
And they're not.
Was posted.
24 hours. before the
24
meeting.
hours.
Was posted.
Right.
And if a meeting, the way it works is committees, boards, commissions submit their schedule of meetings for the year by the end of the calendar year. Any meeting that is scheduled that is not a scheduled meeting is deemed to be a special meeting. And that, the posting is the same, but you cannot add things to the special meeting agenda that are not there.
Right.
So do we want to try public comment at the end of the next meeting?
I think we should wait and let the public weigh in again next time, because now they can think about that, because if
It goes both ways. I agree.
I
It goes
agree.
both ways.
I
I
agree.
think, but if something's coming up on the agenda and you want to say something and you wait till the end,
It's too late.
It's
too late.
Too late.
Right.
Mark, did you have something?
Well, I know it's almost like a catch-22, I understand that, but in the scheme of things, how often are we voting on a critical issue at the same meeting that we're discussing it?
well,
We usually gather information and then look to do something at the next meeting.
well,
I mean, it's unlike a town meeting.
One of these guys.
We
One of these.
report to the Soundview Commission,
Right.
right?
Essentially, yeah.
Pardon?
Essentially, yeah.
well, you're
and-
supposed to report to the board, the
Oh, to the
selectmen.
board, but
Well, the Soundview Commission reports to the Board of Selectmen, because we are advisors to the Sound of this.
I mean, because the comments that have come in, we haven't addressed them at these meetings. You take it back to the Soundview Commission to discuss, and to the board, and to the Board of Selectmen, correct?
Yeah,
Well,
definitely.
the other.
So, I'm just saying.
Some things
having-
that aren't, some things that we can, other things we can't, that are town,
Right.
are fiduciary for the town, so that.
I mean, so I'm not opposed to what Martha's saying as far as let the public know that you have it at the end. You may not be able to influence or something that you voted on, but I just don't know how many extremely critical issues we vote on at the same meeting that we're bringing it up and discussing it.
But the other thing is that if something's on the agenda and the public comments at the end, and a member of the public says, boy, they can always send in an email or a letter or something to express an opinion in advance of the meeting.
We could put correspondence at the front.
Yeah.
So we could put correspondence at the front of the meeting and comment at the back of the meeting, so if somebody does have something, they get
Right,
it.
right.
That's not going to work as well, because correspondence is not going to always reach us. If you put the agenda out 24 hours before, correspondence is not going to reach us ahead of
So
time.
let's leave public comment at the front of the meeting, and then we can just have the public weigh in on that one.
Right.
Yeah.
The only other thing that, since we're not unsure what the information is going to come, when the information is going to be coming to us for revenue, so I'm not sure we can actually schedule the next meeting right
Well, then
now.
what I would strongly suggest is you schedule the next meeting, and if it's not here, then you cancel it.
Okay, well, we can
Because
certainly-
everybody's schedule books up,
We can certainly do that.
especially,
Well,
So, one of the key items on the next agenda then, whenever we have the meeting, is this kiosk information, right?
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So that's the most critical thing right now, to find out what the raw data showed us.
Yeah.
And how to break it down and make some interpretations of what we're seeing, right?
Yeah.
Some analysis.
How does November 9th look for everybody?
I would go to the 16th if you can, because that'll give us 4 full weeks to work on kiosk stuff.
It's fine with me. Is everybody else good with that?
16?
Okay. Okay, we'll schedule.
That's actually our next regularly scheduled meeting anyway.
Normal, yeah, normal. All right, November 16th, 9 a.m. Here at Town Hall. Okay. Anything else? Motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Mark? All in favor? All right, thank you very much.
Note the time.
Yeah, oh, yeah, thank you.
I got it. It's 9:46. Thank you.
Thank you.